Then we will move to item 7F, which is approval of youth options applications for second semester of 2011-12 school year.
So there is just one application, a student who made the October 1st deadline for taking some courses at WTC. So that was attached for you. It is up to really to the post-secondary school and technical college to make the decision as to whether to admit the student or not.
So all we are approving is the ability to apply.
Correct.
But if that student is accepted, then we are responsible for the tuition for this, correct?
That is correct, unless the student does not pass the classes. Then
Okay.
the expectation is that he or she or parents must reimburse the district.
And we typically get a few youth options requests.
Yes, we do. This is the first of truck driving that we've seen. Typically, I know it's psychology and classes of that nature. This is more of a certification type of class. So
I'm struggling with this because I'm very aware of the whole history of open enrollment and how it has evolved. And so I don't see this application as being within the original spirit of the open enrollment. And yet, I think that we need to start rethinking what our schools do and the kinds of options that we do make available to students so that they can really prepare themselves for the future. And looking at different interests, different abilities of different students and the job market, I see this as being very viable. However, I'm not so sure that this particular request falls within the total concept of public education. So if I don't vote for this, it's just simply having some philosophical problems within the whole context. Not that I cannot see the importance and value of this.
Before we continue, can you explain again how this works?
the Youth Options Program is available for juniors and seniors to apply to four-year colleges or technical colleges to take courses that are not offered at their local high school. I think the intent that Mary Ellen was getting at is a number of years ago it was called post-secondary options, and the idea was that for students who were gifted and talented, if they needed additional coursework, they could move forward at the college level and get those experiences. One of the things as I reviewed this request is that our board policy on youth options does not include any requirements for grade point average, and there are districts that do require that. So that would be something that possibly could cause an applicant, or maybe would respond to your concern, Mary Ellen, more that if we were trying to truly meet the needs of gifted and talented students, that we might want to consider some type of a GPA average, that type of thing. The only way that a school district can deny, I did call the Department of Public Instruction, that we can deny an application is if I believe the student is at risk for graduation.
And this student is not
Correct.
at risk, okay.
And so, you know, we have to send it on to, if approved, send it on for post-secondary approval, and it really is their determination whether they accept the student or not.
And
John, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it really is designed for kids who have kind of maxed out on the classes that are offered, so that, and then they can go further in their study. So if you take, for instance, a student who maybe has completed all of the math coursework because they were accelerated in math, and finish the highest level of math coursework at the high school, they could enroll in independent study or take a class at the technical school
At the expense of the school district?
at the expense of the school
But
district.
now, having said that, we've had many students who, I believe, who went through the CNA course.
Yes.
And we
So
use this
it
program
hasn't
to
been
have
just geared
clusters of
for the
students.
college track.
So we.
I
Well-
was going to say, my understanding of it was preparation for future employment or future avenue that they're going in. And this person has picked truck driving, which we have lots of truck driving businesses in Toma. It seems to be an appropriate
And let me piggyback on what
Preparation.
Pam said. My first reaction to this is not really within the context of what this was designed for. And then I picked up the Toma Journal and I looked at the help wanted ads. And that's the rationale for me saying I'm trying really hard to rethink this and look at it from a different perspective. However, I also think that this is opening a very, very, very different route than we have gone. And it may mean that we're going to be rethinking a lot of things. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
My question is we've touched on it in some discussions, but we haven't tackled the whole thing. We've talked about becoming more, incorporating more, whether it's virtual schools for preparation for the future. We've talked about these different things in prepping our people for the future. And this seems to me to be a part of that.
Down a different line than...
Down a different
than the
line,
traditional
but still forging ahead, because not everyone chooses or wants or is appropriate,
In the past, though, when we've done
gifted or
that,
talented.
when we've done things more in this area, there's been a strong district involvement in them. We talked about the CNA. There were linkages there where we knew as a district we could not be offering this. And there was involvement with our staff, talking to and working with TC and others, so that we had that linkage. We had thought it through from a curriculum standpoint. When our students had maxed out our Spanish program, they were going into a logical progression of a program. When we have worked with our kids who have gone into the math program through this, again, there has been a sequential linkage that's tied to an educational program. And yet I realize that this is entirely different. And again, it's thinking about it differently.
This is a vocational program.
Can I
Yeah,
ask?
but other vocational programs have been linked to our district or with a progression.
One of the I think with Cindy in her directions a few moments ago, if I understood correctly, what you stated was that we don't have the authority to deny the request anyway. So
That's what I called DPI and said, if there are concerns, can we deny them? And they said, no. They said, check your policy, your board policy, to see if there are provisions there, and there are no provisions in our board
then
policy.
my question would be more specific then as to, one of the other statements that you had made was when a student has exhausted the credits that they can take, has this student exhausted their credits so they don't have other options?
Not exhausted their credits, exhausted the coursework in that particular area. So he will have been enrolled in our car care class. He has taken courses that we have available.
In
Yes.
many of through the automotive line
Through the
that we have.
automotive
You know,
line.
something to keep in mind in this discussion,
That's
if I
important.
remember back when these things first started, it wasn't any easier for schools to swallow at that time, knowing that we had to pay for somebody to go to a college, to pay for coursework at a college, because I remember having this same discussion. This seems to be a little bit of a continuation of that discussion, and at least I know from what I remember is It's the idea that we have options for kids here at school, but they're not choosing those options. Not only are they not choosing them, they're choosing to go somewhere else, and now we had to pay for it. And that kind of was, so this is kind of a thing in progress here. This is what we're trying to say.
So the policy needs to be looked at then,
Right.
future, if
If
we
we
need to
want to.
attach a grade point.
Do we have the authority to modify the policy to deny? Was that DPI's recommendation,
Yeah,
that if
they
the
said
policy stated
If we had-
criteria?
Yes, if we had criteria that were required, then you'd have more of an ability to say this doesn't meet that criteria.
Mr. Mead did a lot of work, if I remember correct, and this goes back to, I remember specifically being out at Warren's, talking about things that we needed to do internally as a school district to keep those kids here and not offer things, obviously I don't know that we're going to offer this type of vocational course to this student, but, do things to keep those kids engaged in the school district rather than, because if you offer the course here in the district, then the option to apply in a post-secondary institution, you don't have that option anymore if you're offering them. So I think we've done a lot with that over time too.
But I do think it's important to know that, our state superintendent, Tony Evers at the Department of Public Instruction, believes that public schools need to be providing as many opportunities for students to get either college or technical college certifications, credits, while they're still in high school, because we want to be encouraging them to continue to pursue their education after high school. So really opening up that door and saying, where are their certifications? If a student can get a CDL license while they're in high school, that's probably going to be a benefit to that child, whether they go into the job market right away or whether they go into college. So, Youth Options is the avenue at this point in time to be pursuing that.
And that's not the first time you've told us this, about where our state education people want us to go. Want to see the future, vision.
And I also appreciate the fact that when this started, that was the direction that it was intended, and that now it's just broadened, I think, because of the trying to encompass all the students and trying to get them all engaged in their own personal journeys on where they want to go in their education, and we're promoting that more so than just that upper college-bound child. So.
Madam President, isn't this, and the rest of you, isn't this, if we go back to the previous item on the agenda, we're advancing something here in the future. I know this is relatively new to Toma, but Cindy, are other districts going through this same thing? Are they offering it?
I do
Or
not
is it
know.
just Toma?
I don't know if there are students in other districts that have applied.
I know it's
for-
not just Toma, because Tony Evers has put a
Right.
stamp on it.
I mean, Youth Options is used by a lot of schools for both technical coursework and college coursework,
You know,
so.
To me, it's just a sign of the future.
WTC has
Had other
promoted
students.
this particular program,
Yeah.
Mr. Grovestein, that in order to attract
Well,
students.
what I'm saying, Greg, it might be a step for the future that we have an opportunity to do it, but I understand where Mary Ellen's coming too. If you want to take the step, then it's just like the previous program that we allotted for, that money for furtherance of computer stuff in our school. I wonder if this isn't another step in the future.
Well, I certainly,
You know what I mean?
Well, this is coming off the DPI website. The statement is, under Youth Options, a student does not pay for a college course if the school board determines that the course qualifies for high school credit and is not comparable to a course already offered in the school district. This doesn't meet that criteria, if I'm understanding correctly, right?
Read it again, I think
It says, under Youth Options, a student does not pay for a college course if the school board determines the course qualifies for high school credit and is not comparable to a course already offered in the school district. If approved by the school board, the student can receive both high school and college credit upon the successful completion of the course. The student who successfully completes their high school graduation requirements earns a high school diploma regardless of whether the requirements were met while attending a high school or college. And this is under the tab on the Wisconsin DPI, Wisconsin Youth Options Program.
So the question you want to answer is, would you consider, we do not have a comparable course. We don't have a course that, we do not have truck driving courses, okay?
Right, would you not offer comparable course, right?
So that opens the door for the child to apply. Now, the question is, would you say if this child successfully passes these classes, you would not grant him any type of high school credit for the hours that he has put in?
Yeah, and that's not how I'm reading it.
Well, that's the first part of that.
Well, but it says and, it doesn't say or. It says it must, the school board determines the course qualifies for high school credit.
Right.
So do we consider the process of getting a CDL something that you could get high school credit for? How many credits do you get? And,
That's the question she just asked.
well, but I mean,
Yeah,
I'm asking
so-
it kind of, have we determined, is that something you can do? Do we give the credits for that?
Well, we don't have it in the course description book at this point in time. Do you, so
But nor do
But
we
you-
have
Yeah,
other
right,
courses
right.
that students
if
have
a student took
previously taken in the
European,
course.
Western.
So typically, do we award the credits that the college or the tech school
We equate
gives?
it to high school credits, yes, so.
And do we accept that grade from their transcript then also?
Yes.
That is what we've done.
Doesn't the monetary thing here raise some questions? I mean, the affordability of this district to pay for that? I mean, that's another expense. What you say, Greg? No?
We don't have a choice.
It says that a
Yeah,
school board can
choice.
deny, but the parents have the right to appeal to the state superintendent within 30 days. That school boards can deny it, and if they do, then they can appeal directly.
It depends on the policy we have. Right now, our policy,
It seems like we need to move this forward, and we
Right.
need to review the policy
And
so
it
that
just needs
any,
to go to-
this is the only application we have for
Yeah, we
second
can approve
semester.
this, but we definitely need to look at the policy.
Yeah.
And
it's-
I know I brought it up. On a philosophical basis, I am much more comfortable with it, with the comment that this student has been in the automotive program. This student has exhausted those courses, and at least we are within the framework of following a procedure a little bit more close. And so I am much more comfortable. But I thought we needed to have this discussion that
We do.
we're moving this, that this is moving in directions that have a lot of implications for the
Right.
future, and we need to start thinking
Broader
out of
than-
the box
exactly.
as this moves
Than was
forward.
initially ever thought. So I would also ask that we put that on our agenda for the next policy meeting then, review of the youth options program that we have. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second then to approve this youth options application. Any further discussion? Did we have?
I don't think we had a motion.
Yeah.
Did we?
I'm sorry. I thought
the
Pam,
motions.
I can make a motion that we approve this.
oh, I'm back on the last one.
And I'll
Sorry.
second it.
Okay.
Yeah, you scared me there.
Well,
Yeah, I
I'm
did-
scaring myself.
It was a long
I
discussion.
didn't hear nothing.
I thought we did, but
It was a discussion that.
it was a good discussion. So we have a motion and a Judy second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And thank you. Good discussion.